Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to the stories of life, where you will gently be lulled into a peaceful sleep. I am Lucius, someone who loves to listen and heal emotions, and it is truly an honor to accompany you as a comforting voice beside you in the quiet moments of the night. Just a voice, along with the soft hum of the world outside your window, or perhaps the gentle rhythm of your own breath. Do you feel tired? Not just physically, but deep down in a place even sleep doesn't quite reach. Sometimes the heart carries a weight heavier than anything our hands could lift. Perhaps it's the remnants of heartbreak, not just from romance, but from broken expectations, words left unspoken, and people who left without closure. Or maybe it's burnout, not simply from work, but from the effort of holding everything together. Day after day, you show up, you put on the brave face, you try to do what's right, but inside, your strength feels like it's running thin. And when it quiets down, when you finally sit still, there's a creeping loneliness that joins you. That familiar ache of wondering if anyone truly sees you. Not just sees your efforts, your surface level smiles, but really sees you. Has it felt lately like failure is becoming a theme? As if you're trying so hard, yet falling short of what you hope to achieve? In love, in work, in life? My dear friend, if any of this feels close to your heart, even if you can't quite find the words for it, know that it's okay. This space is for you. You don't need to explain or justify the weight you carry. You are not alone in feeling these things. Breathe slowly and allow yourself this moment. It's not weakness to feel this way. It's simply human. I understand that feeling. Sometimes the world outside is loud, busy, demanding, yet inside all you feel is silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the hollow kind. The kind that echoes back with memories of things that didn't go the way you hoped. It's so easy to blame yourself for trusting too much, loving too hard, dreaming too big, but you weren't wrong to do any of those things. You were simply being yourself. And when heartbreak came, it didn't mean you were too much, it meant the other person wasn't ready for the beauty of who you are. When burnout creeps in, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've been strong for too long, often without the support you needed. You've carried burdens not meant for one pair of shoulders, and still you kept going. That's not failure. That's endurance. That's love in its rawest form, even if no one noticed. And about loneliness, even in rooms filled with people, we can feel invisible. You might laugh at the right times, nod in conversation, and still feel distant, like you're watching life happen rather than living it. That disconnect is real, and I see it. When we try our best, and life still feels like a series of letdowns, it hurts in a place too deep for words. But please know, I see you not as someone who failed, but someone who tried, who gave love, who worked hard, who stayed kind. That matters. Even if no one else said so today, let me be the one to say it now. You matter. Your story matters. And this moment right here, where you feel tired and broken and unsure, is not the end. It's simply a pause, a breath, and I'm right here with you in it. If you feel like talking, I'm here. not to judge, not to solve, but to listen. And if talking is too much right now, even just letting the thoughts rise gently in your heart is enough. Maybe you've been holding back tears for days, afraid that once they come, they won't stop. Maybe there's something you haven't told anyone because you're afraid they won't understand. But in this space, there is no expectation, no pressure, only kindness. What have you been carrying quietly? Is there a name, a memory, a conversation that still plays in your mind? A moment when you were hoping for comfort but found yourself alone? It's okay to feel disappointed, to feel confused, to not know what comes next. You are allowed to be in this space of uncertainty. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're human, you're brave, you're still here, even when it's hard, and that speaks of courage more than any achievement ever could. And if there's anything you wish someone had said to you, I'm willing to say it now. If you need to hear that you were enough, that you are worthy, that your efforts were meaningful, even if they didn't succeed, then hear it from me. You were, you are. Let yourself be seen, even just in the privacy of your own thoughts. And if you ever wish to speak it aloud, I'll be here quietly, patiently, always with care. Don't worry, dear one. Let your heart rest a little tonight. Let the silence around you soften instead of sting. Let it become a warm blanket rather than a hollow space. You are not defined by your heartbreak. You are not just the tears you cried or the messages left unanswered. You are the courage it took to love in the first place, the openness it took to hope, the tenderness that still lives within you despite it all. You are not defined by your burnout. The fact that you kept going, that you kept showing up, even when you were running on empty, that is not failure. That is love. That is strength. That is quiet heroism. And you are not defined by your loneliness. Loneliness is a feeling, not a fact. Right now, even if we're miles apart, know this: you are seen. You are not invisible to me. I hear your unspoken words, and I'm holding space for your heart to exhale. You are not defined by your perceived failures. Success is not always loud or immediate. Sometimes just surviving is success. Sometimes growth is invisible at first, like seeds beneath the soil. You've been through so much, and still, here you are, still hoping, still reaching out for something more. That's not weakness, that's beautiful strength. Tonight, give yourself permission to let go just for now. Let go of judgment, let go of expectations, and know that you are deeply, deeply loved. Not because of what you've done or failed to do, but simply because you are. My dear friend, I know that at times like this, you might feel as though you are completely alone, like no one could possibly understand what you've been through, that the pain of your heartbreak, the exhaustion of your days, the silence that follows you, and the bitter taste of disappointment are things too heavy to share. But let me gently remind you, you are not alone. There are many others who have walked through similar shadows, who've stood in the middle of their life and quietly wondered if they had the strength to go on. They didn't wear their pain on their faces. They looked like everyone else. They smiled, performed, even succeeded on the outside, but inside they were breaking. And sometimes All we need is to know that someone else has felt what we feel, not to compare sorrows, but to understand that pain can be shared, and in sharing, it loses a little of its weight. So tonight, let me tell you the story of someone who knows what it's like to stand in the ruins of their dreams and wonder if anything can rise from them again. A man you might know not because of his sorrow, but because of how he transformed it. Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. This isn't just a story about business or success. It's a story about a boy from the projects, a young man who knew heartbreak, family hardship, burnout, and the brutal loneliness of being invisible. It's about how life can knock you down repeatedly, and how rising isn't always immediate or glamorous, but still possible. Howard Schultz was born in Brooklyn, New York. In 1953, his family lived in the Canarsie Bayview houses, a public housing project for the working poor. His father, Fred, worked various low-paying jobs, a truck driver, factory worker, and even an army veteran, but never found stability. There's a moment that shaped Howard's life forever. He was 7 years old when his father slipped and fell on ice, breaking his hip and ankle. Because there was no workers' compensation, no health insurance, and no job security, Fred Schultz lost his job. The family had no income. They were already poor, and now they were desperate. Howard remembers it vividly. The silence in the kitchen, the helplessness in his mother's eyes, the shame on his father's face. That moment etched a permanent wound into his heart. It was his first real taste of what it meant to feel helpless, forgotten, and crushed by circumstances beyond your control. He was a child, but already he felt the weight of failure, not his own, but his family's, and that weight never left him. He vowed he would not be poor, that he would never let his future children suffer like he had. But such vows come with their own cost. As he grew older, sports became his escape. Football, basketball, he played fiercely. It wasn't about fun. It was about proving he mattered, that he was strong, that he could escape. He earned a football scholarship to Northern Michigan University, one of the first in his family to go to college. But when an injury ended his scholarship early, he felt crushed again. He returned to campus without funds, worked part-time jobs, and barely scraped by. Loneliness settled in again. Heartbreak took on new forms. Failed relationships, friendships fading, long nights wondering if any of this would lead to something better. He felt like he was chasing a dream on a treadmill, running hard but going nowhere. After graduation, he worked for Xerox. It was a good job, stable, but his heart was restless. He felt burned out, empty. The dream of making it felt further away, not closer. Then he discovered a small coffee shop chain called Starbucks at the time. It only had a few stores in Seattle. Howard fell in love with the idea of bringing quality coffee culture to the US. Inspired by a trip to Italy, he believed in the power of community, of creating a place where people could feel seen, valued, and connected. But when he pitched the idea to Starbucks' original owners, they said no. They didn't believe in turning coffee into a cafe experience. Rejected and disheartened, Howard faced a crossroads. He could give up or try again. He chose to try. He raised money on his own, bought Starbucks, and started building the vision from the ground up. But those early years were brutal. There were moments he couldn't make payroll. He'd walk into the office with a smile while holding back panic attacks. He was newly married, exhausted, and under constant pressure to prove himself. He felt like a failure every time a deal fell through, like he was letting down his employees, his investors, and most painfully, his family. He was working 16-hour days, barely seeing his wife or newborn son. The very life he wanted to build, a better life than the one he had, was threatening to crumble from the same pressures his father faced. He would later confess in interviews, "I was scared all the time. Every day, I worried it would all fall apart. And even after success came, after Starbucks became a household name, the burnout remained. The heartache of those early days never quite left him. But he stayed true to one thing, people. He made it company policy that all employees, even part-timers, would get health care benefits. Why? Because his father didn't. He created a college assistance program for employees. Why? Because he remembered how it felt to struggle in school. All those years of pain, loss, loneliness, and failure, they didn't disappear, but he used them. He honored them. He turned them into something meaningful. Howard Schultz cried many times, behind closed doors, after long flights, in lonely hotel rooms, and on nights when the stress was unbearable. His tears weren't signs of weakness, they were simply the overflow of a heart that had carried too much for too long. Howard's story isn't just one of success, it's one of heartbreak, burnout, loneliness, and failure, all woven into a journey of quiet resilience. And in some ways, maybe it echoes your story, too. Maybe you've been carrying your own kind of pain, not on stages or headlines, but in quiet, persistent ways. Perhaps you've known what it's like to feel invisible, like your struggles don't matter to anyone. Maybe you've worked hard, loved deeply, and still ended up with empty hands. But like Howard, you are not defined by what's gone wrong. You are shaped by how you keep going, even if it's messy, even if it's tearful, even if no one sees your effort but you. You may not feel like a success story right now, and that's okay. Success is not a single moment. It's the unfolding of everything you've survived and chosen to still love through. So, if your heart is aching tonight from the weight of failure, the sting of heartbreak, the exhaustion of burnout, or the loneliness of it all, take comfort in knowing that others have walked through it too, and they found a way forward, not by being perfect, but by being persistent, by staying kind, by daring to believe that life can still hold something beautiful. And I believe that for you, too. When I read his story, I didn't just see a businessman. I saw a little boy watching his father fail. I saw a young man scraping through school, too proud to ask for help. I saw a husband wondering if chasing his dream was costing him his family. I saw a leader hiding his fear behind calm speeches. He didn't always feel strong. In fact, he often felt like he was failing everyone. And isn't that the feeling we wrestle with in silence? That we're trying, but somehow still falling short? His journey reminds us that success isn't the absence of failure. It's what you choose to build from it. And the loneliness, that quiet ache in the heart, it never fully disappears, does it? But it softens when we realize others have walked that road too. When we see someone else rise from ashes and realize that maybe, just maybe, we can rise too. Now, my dear friend, I want to encourage you to be strong. I know how heavy the heart can become after enduring so much, whether it's the ache of broken relationships, the exhaustion that never seems to lift, the silent nights filled with loneliness, or the discouragement of failure. These experiences can leave you feeling worn down, as though your spirit has nothing left to give. But take heart, you are stronger than you feel. Strength isn't always loud. It's not always a grand declaration or a bold display. Sometimes strength is quiet. It's found in the moments when you choose to rise again even after life has knocked you down. It's in the way you keep showing up, keep loving, and keep believing that something better is ahead even when it's hard to see. God never promised a life without struggles, but He did promise that He would be with us through them all. You are never expected to walk this road alone. When your strength runs out, His begins. So breathe gently. Take this moment to let the pain fall away, if only for a second. Let peace begin to seep in where worry used to dwell. Even now, in your struggle, God is at work in your life. You are not abandoned. You are deeply loved. Let me share a verse with you that has brought comfort to many who have suffered and struggled. Isaiah 40-31, NIV. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isn't that a beautiful promise? When everything in life seems to weigh you down, when your heart is tired and your body feels too weary to continue, there is a quiet invitation from God to place your hope in Him. And not a vague or distant hope, but one rooted in deep trust. Trust that He sees you, understands your pain, and has not left your side. Hope in God doesn't mean we'll never feel tired. It doesn't mean that heartbreak won't come or that failure won't sting, but it does mean we will not be crushed by those things. Our strength will be renewed not from within ourselves, but from the One who created us. Imagine soaring not by your effort, but by grace, running not with dread, but with purpose, walking not out of obligation, but with quiet joy. That is the promise of Isaiah. That is the life God invites you into. So if you're struggling tonight, let this verse be your gentle anchor. You are not stuck, you are not finished, and you are certainly not alone. My dear friend, in your lowest moments, when everything feels too much and nothing seems to make sense, God is there. He doesn't just wait for you at the mountaintop. He kneels beside you in the valley. When your heart is shattered by love lost, when your body is worn from carrying too much, when you feel like the world has moved on and forgotten you, He leans in closer. You may not always feel Him. You may not hear thunder or see miracles when you pray, but His presence is not about noise. It's often quiet, gentle, persistent. He is there in the silence. He is there in the breath you just took. He is there in the tiny decision you made to not give up today. Remember what it says in Psalm 34-18, NIV. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Not only does God understand brokenness, He draws near to it. He doesn't recoil from your sadness. He doesn't rush past your burnout or ignore your failure. Instead, He wraps His presence around you like a warm blanket in winter. When the world tells you to get over it, God says, "Come to me." When others are uncomfortable with your tears, God counts them. When you feel like a burden, He calls you beloved. Even in your lowest place, you are still His child, and that will never change. Do not let your wounds define your worth. Your journey, no matter how broken it may feel, is still guided by the loving hand of God. Life has its storms, that is certain, but through the teachings of God, you are given a compass that always points you toward healing, peace, and purpose. Failure doesn't mean God has left you. Heartbreak doesn't mean you are unworthy of love. Burnout isn't a sign of weakness, and loneliness is not the end of the story. These are seasons painful, yes, but seasons still, and seasons change. God's word offers us wisdom not just for surviving, but for thriving. His teachings tell us how to love even when we are hurting, how to forgive even when we are wounded, how to hold on to hope even when all feels lost. As it says in James 1:12, NIV, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." So keep going, keep living according to His way, not because it's easy, but because it is life-giving. Let your choices reflect your faith. Let your words be gentle. Let your actions be rooted in compassion. Let your soul be shaped by grace. You are not called to be perfect. You are called to be faithful, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Be strong, dear friend, not with a hardened heart or forced optimism, but with the quiet strength that comes from trusting God's path, even when you cannot see the next step. You have been through so much. You felt the sharp sting of loss, the silent ache of loneliness, the exhaustion that burnout brings, and the bitter doubt that failure whispers. And yet, you are still here, still breathing, still holding on. That is strength. And if you've come this far, know that God hasn't brought you here to abandon you. He is not finished with you. Every difficulty has shaped you in ways that one day will be revealed as part of your calling, your growth, your becoming. Hold on to this verse. Jeremiah 29:11, NIV. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." These are not just words, they are promises from the heart of a loving Father. Your future is not defined by this present pain. Your story does not end in despair. There are still chapters to be written, pages filled with healing, joy, connection, and unexpected peace. So do not give up. Let your faith guide you. Trust that God sees the whole path, even when all you can see is the step before you. And when you're too tired to walk, let him carry you. You are safe in his hands.